BDO's flagship event for National Apprenticeship Week, and we'll show you what a career with BDO might be like and give you an insight into why our vision as a firm is helping you succeed. My name is Egil, and I work in the early careers team here at BDO. And I will be joined tonight by fellow colleagues and the Institute of Chartered Accountants to give you a better understanding of what an apprenticeship in accounting might be like. We'll start off with a talk from our very own managing partner about his career path from apprentice to leading one of the biggest audit firms in the country, before Harvey from the Institute of Chartered Accountants in England and Wales will talk you through what an accounting apprenticeship is like and what support they give you during the programme. Finally, my colleague Vicky will give you a recruitment masterclass and tell you what we look for in our trainees as well. The second part of the event will see myself and Paul be joined by some of our colleagues on the virtual stage to answer some of the questions that you might have about a career in accounting and for them to give their experiences as well. We'll finish off with some informal networking, give you an opportunity to speak to us virtually, face to face, and answer any of the questions that you might have. So without going on too much, I'm going to hand over to Paul, who will tell you a little bit about his career journey and what it's like to be in charge of the fifth largest accountancy firm in the UK. Over to you, Paul.
Thank you, Egil, and good afternoon, everyone. So, as you can see from the screen, my name is Paul Eagland, and I'm currently the managing partner of BDO. And I'll say a few words about what that actually means, and then I will go back to how I got here. So, staying with the here and now, the managing partner role for BDO, it's what we call an elected role. So the firm appoints a managing partner, and that person is appointed by the partners of the firm. So if you, in numbers, we are roughly about 380 partners in total. Any equity partner can stand for the role of managing partner. And you basically call on your votes of your fellow partners, and it's generally a competitive position, and it's a sought after position. So I was elected for this role nearly 5 years ago now, and you can only do the role for 8 years, which is good, healthy stuff, so that someone can't go power mad. And what does the role actually involve? Well, the words themselves are ones that you'll recognize from the world of business and the world of academic studies. So my responsibility is to take look at the firm, look at its strategy, and direct and coordinate and lead where we are going as a business. And where we are going as a business covers the type of clients we act for, the type of markets we operate in, what our people proposition is, what training we offer, our financial plans, our arrangements around the type of brands and that we want to portray out in the market, both to people and to clients, and also things like our digital strategy. So that's the here and now. But my journey started basically where I think you are all thinking as of your today, which is if I go back to 1983. So if there are any parents on the call, maybe they might remember those days, but the younger generations, unless you've studied modern history, you might not recognize everything I say. But I was once 18 years old, and that was back in 1983. And back then, and I grew up in London, a place called Walthamstow. I grew up in what I'd say was a relatively poor family. I was one of 5 children. We lived in a 3-bedroom house, so I shared a bedroom with 3 of my brothers, and I went to the local comprehensive school, which in terms of academic expectations was pretty low. Only 3 people a year from that school ever went to university. So although that sounds like a bit of a nightmare, but for me, it was a fantastic upbringing. And in that environment, it was normal and I enjoyed my childhood, had a lovely time. I loved school, actually. But school, by reference to what I hear school is like now, today, was very, very different. The amount of work we did in homework, etc., was pretty low. So as I worked through school, and those days, you've got to remember this is pre-internet, okay, pre-internet, pre-mobile phones. Our career advice took the form of probably a 2-hour session. I think mine was with a woodwork teacher to provide, basically say, what would you like to do when you leave school, Paul? What are you good at? What are you inspired by? And that was the end of the story. And he gave me a few brochures. So back in 1983, I went looking for some sources of information to guide my thinking. And of course, my friends were doing the same thing. But what I didn't have the benefit of was that no one in my family had ever gone to university. No one in my family had ever worked in the accountancy profession. And I mean that completely wider family. Uh, None of our teachers really knew much about accountancy. A few of them knew about why I might want to go to university. So I started to look for some guidance, and I actually went to the ICAEW, and later you'll hear from Harvey, who will talk you about the ICAEW. And in those days, we got a pack of information which said what it would be like to train as a chartered accountant, the benefits of that, and how recognized the qualification is. So as myself and my friends were going through all of that thinking, this is 1983, and Margaret Thatcher was at the peak of her power. I'm not particularly political, but the fact was, in 1983, unemployment was around 2 to 3 million people. So my generation at that point in time, we were pretty concerned that we could end up leaving school not with yeah, that insecurity around not perhaps getting a job. So I did look at going to university. I did look at joining the army, and I also looked at a career in accountancy. And even in those days, accountancy you could either access through going to university and then securing a training contract with a firm, or the alternative back in 1983 was, which is slightly different from your choice, but I think it's quite close to your choice, was you did a 1-year college course. So you didn't go to university, you went to what was called a polytechnic in those days. But you could only do that course if you then had a guaranteed training contract with an accountancy firm. So it was effectively part of that apprenticeship, which is the sort of thing that you're looking at now. So I did secure a place to go to university, but ultimately, when I looked at what my friends were doing, the state of the economy, the opportunity perhaps not to get a job if I'd gone to university and unemployment was still high, so I absolutely made that decision to not go to university and go straight into. I did a year's college and then into the workplace. Now, through that, and it'd be interesting later during your hop-ins whether or not, whilst you might not recognise the state of the economy back in 1983, I probably don't really appreciate your experience of finishing your schooling during COVID, and therefore whether or not that's been a good experience, a really disappointing experience, and therefore whether or not that's influenced your thinking. And again, even whilst we're not out of COVID, things are definitely looking brighter. So either the world of university or the world of work probably looks very different in your eyes to what it looked like to me, because I didn't have COVID and all of those lockdown things wrapped around me, but I did have different dynamics at play. So I decided to go straight into work, effectively the apprenticeship scheme that you're perhaps interested in. And first of all, I felt very, very young when I turned up to work. I remember buying my first suit, and people were expected to wear suits in those days, and I did buy my first suit. I felt slightly disorientated. The firm I joined was a smaller firm before I actually joined BDO, but when even walking into an office for the first time in my life, wearing a suit, I felt quite disorientated. I don't know whether I would have felt less disorientated if I'd first gone to university and then joined the workforce when I was a little bit older. But that only lasted for a couple of days, and you soon settle. And people are generally incredibly friendly because you've got something in common, i.e., you're working in the same organisation. And I worked my way through the chartered accountancy exams, and I became qualified. Now, one of the advantages, of course, for me going straight in and not going to university is that I was qualified at a very young age. And that was also quite lucky because whilst when I went into the workplace, when unemployment was 3 million, by the time I qualified 3-4 years later, the UK economy was booming, and all of a sudden you could literally get a job anywhere. And actually that's when I ended up at BDO in 1987. And so I had that advantage that I was qualified at a very young age. And back in those days, you didn't have debt if you did go to university, by the way. And I know that that's a massive issue for a lot of people when they think about the choice of going to university. So as in the workforce, I was earning. I could actually then afford plenty of suits. I could afford my own car. And believe it or not, back in 1987, within a few years, you could go out and think about buying your own property. And I know, again, that is completely different and something that's affecting the way people want to live their lives and the type of career. So I was qualified. All of these opportunities were in front of me, and the economy was booming. So then I decided to specialize in tax. So unlike a lot of other people, once they qualified, they said I never wanted to do an exam again. But because I hadn't been to university, I had the energy to take another professional exam, which was the taxation exams. So then I was qualified both as a chartered accountant and a tax practitioner, which meant that I was dual qualified. And again, that gave my a real boost to my career. And before I knew it, the years were flying by, and I stayed with BDO. So, as I say, since 1987, I then progressed through the sort of general grades that you have. You come in as a junior and a trainee, and then you qualify, and then you become a supervisor, an assistant manager, and a manager, a director, and then a partner. And again, because I'd started so young, I became a partner at a relatively young age of 31, which was a fantastic experience. And I've been a partner at BDO since that age of 31. I'm 56 now. And I've carried on developing, having great experiences. I've done so many different jobs. And for anybody that perhaps is thinking, wow, being at the same firm for 34, 35 years, my God, I could never envisage that. I don't think I ever envisaged it when I joined BDO for the first time. But when I did join BDO, it was only 35 partners and 350 staff. So BDO has now grown over that period to 350 odd partners and 6,500 staff. So the beauty of choosing the right organization for me is not just seeing what the organization looks like now, but where will it be in the future, and does that environment offer you as an individual opportunities to do different roles in different parts of the firm. Plenty of people did overseas travel. I didn't travel overseas in terms of work overseas. I've done loads of international travel, as you'd expect. But I've always loved working and living in London. And I think I'll carry on doing that until I retire over the next few years. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight into what I do now, managing partner. And at one point in time, I too was 18 years old or thereabouts. And I too had to make that choice between going into work, um, uh, going into university, what my friends were doing, what my parents wanted me to do. My parents were very working class. My father was a docker, and he didn't really have any idea or concept of the importance of going into work or going to university. So he just supported whatever I chose to do. And that was the same with my mum. So let me close there because we've got time later for a panel session, and I will hand back to Egil. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paul. And thank you very much to those of you who asked questions as well. As Paul said, we'll come back to those later. But I hope you found it as insightful as I did, listening to Paul's career journey and where the apprenticeship can get you as well. Thank you very much. Next off, we've got Harvey with us. So Harvey works for the Institute of Chartered Accountants in England and Wales, which is a bit of a mouthful. We normally just call them ICAEW. And they are there to work alongside us, helping our apprentices get their ACA qualification. And they're also there to help you afterwards, and to sort of help build that career in any way that you would like to. So there we've got Harvey with us. I'm going to hand over to Harvey, and hopefully he can share some slides as well. Brilliant.
Thank you very much, and good evening, everybody. Welcome, and hopefully what I'm going to do over the next 10 minutes is give you a quick insight to who we are at ICAEW, and kind of talk more specifically about the apprenticeship routes as well. So on this slide, just quickly, the agenda that we'll cover really is just who we are. So if you've not heard of us before, go run through of who we are, why potentially we're the right kind of institute for yourselves, and how you can become a chartered accountant, and how you go about kind of applying for that, etc. And essentially what the qualification can entail. So on the whole, we have over 157,000 members. We have over 31,000 students currently that are studying towards the ACA qualification, and that's through all different types of routes. So it might be through an apprenticeship, it might be those that have just left uni, all different types of routes that we have in, but currently around 31,000 students. We're not the biggest institute, but we still have a huge community and a real nice kind of family feel around that. We also kind of have 96 of the world's 100 global leading brands that employ ICAEW chartered accountants. So showing you the magnitude there of the qualification and how kind of well recognized that is, and where that can take you. So just run through firstly why we're right for you, and hopefully with kind of a bit of what Paul said, it can kind of link in nicely of all the bits to that. So we have, as I said, a massive community feel. We constantly support our members from the outset. So as Paul mentioned, he kind of got a pack of information all about apprenticeships and what that entails. So kind of in this modern day and age, we don't have a physical pack anymore, but we have tons of information online. We have events like this that we take part in, and this is the first kind of information you'll receive. And if you want more, we can share that with you. But throughout the process, the community feel is massive, and you'd be surprised the amount of ACA members there are, and kind of the natural bond you then get from that. Progression wise, we have 90% of our ACA students qualify in 4 years or less. That can vary depending on what route you go in. So that's kind of a general statistic there, but this does vary depending on your type of routes in, which I'll talk about shortly. There's lots of leadership potential. Again, I'll use as Paul as an example. Obviously, is now where he's got to in a very good leadership role, essentially through that apprenticeship scheme, and is where he is today. through that and through those experiences. And the support side of things as well, just kind of, I've already talked about the links into the communities. There's going to be someone there from ICAEW's perspective, kind of throughout your journey, whatever journey you do end up taking, whether that is an apprenticeship route or elsewhere, there is that support throughout, from me being that first point now to all the way up till you essentially retire. You have that support. I think there is a couple more, and then the last one is just the opportunity, which is just that the qualification is recognised globally. So if you are thinking that you are wanting to take, potentially in your life, you might want to go elsewhere that's not in the UK, the qualification is recognised globally and can take you anywhere around the world. So just a quick myth busting thing here for you, really, and it's that I think very stereotypical kind of viewpoint of accountancy is being stuck behind a desk crunching numbers every day, and that it's one specific type of kind of route in, and that's only the only job available. That's not true whatsoever. So on the screen you'll be able to see all the different types of roles that people that have had the AC qualification now then go into and work their way towards. They're not jobs that you're going to necessarily get straight away. A bit like Paul, he didn't just go straight into his role that he's in now. You work towards that, but the qualification can lead you to these roles, and as I've said, the opportunities to kind of go wherever in the world. And then on the next side, you'll see is the industries as well. So it's not, again, just the specific industries in that stereotype. There is kind of the opportunities everywhere, because sometimes you get into certain roles where you think you'll really enjoy it, and then you kind of get a little bit stuck and think this maybe isn't quite for me. Well, the qualification allows you to have that flexibility to essentially still be in a career that in accountancy, essentially, that you're still going to enjoy, but be able to move about if necessary. But I'll talk about the kind of different types of routes that you can take and those opportunities available. So on the next slide, yes. So probably a big question you may be asking yourself at the moment is university or not, basically. Do I go to college, get a degree, to university, sorry, get a degree, or do I go down kind of an apprenticeship route? And as Paul said, there's a lot more pressing things at the moment with going to university than there was kind of when he was making that choice. University fees are very high. I know I went to university myself, so I've got all that debt behind me that will get paid off. But we essentially here at ICAEW have kind of two main routes for you to, if you're kind of thinking about the apprenticeship route. We have a level 4 apprenticeship route and a level 7 kind of apprenticeship route. So to summarize this very quickly and briefly, because I don't have the most amount of time, the top kind of route in the level 4 is what I would recommend, that if you are unsure of what kind of to do, and you're not fully set essentially on thinking that accountancy is 100% what you want to do, but you have got an interest in it, then it's kind of a perfect dipping your toe into the water type of kind of qualification, because it's around 1 to 2 years, and you do end up getting kind of a certificate for that of level 4, but it's not the full qualification, because then you'd have to go on and complete the remainder of the ACA qualification, which takes up to kind of 3 years. So it's a good opportunity if you're unsure what to do and you're not fully set on it to go down that route, because then you have that option to kind of, after your 1 to 2 years, step back and reconsider your options. But if you are set on it and you know that this is something that you would like to have a career in and really ready to get going, then the level 7 apprenticeship route takes around 4 to 5 years, and you'd be kind of fully qualified after those 5 years. And as Paul said, you become qualified at quite a young age, and will make you highly employable. And yeah, you'd be in a really good position if this is something that you know you really want to do. So essentially now there's just the steps of basically becoming a chartered accountant. So I've gone through kind of who we are, what we do, and the opportunities. It's now about, if you are thinking that this is the right path for you and this is something you want to do, then these are essentially the 5 easy steps. I say easy, they're not that easy, but they are the 5 steps. So you need to kind of finish what you're currently doing. If you're doing A levels or at college, etc., finish what you're doing. There's no set really entry requirements going in from an ICAEW perspective. Certain like BDO and other, we have 6,000 authorised trained employers. So I'll speak generically that there's not necessarily any entry requirements from a GCSE perspective. But the level 7 one does sometimes require a certain standard in English and maths. But finish your A levels, or flip side of that, if you do decide to go to university, then go to university and finish university. And then you will enter into a ACA training agreement with an authorised trained employer. So you enter your training agreement with BDO, for example, and what that is a legal documentation just to say that you're working there and that you're going to be studying towards the ACA qualification and what's expected throughout that. You then complete your 4 elements of the ACA qualification, which on the next slide you'll see in a second, is the 4 elements. And then once you've completed the 4 elements, you can apply to become a member of ICAEW. And once you've been accepted, you're able to use the letters ACA after your name. So you may or may not have seen people that are guest speakers, etc., or attended events similar to this that have ACA after their name. And what that means is they are ICAEW chartered accountants. So on the next slide, you'll see, skip the video just for timings. On this slide, you'll see the 4 elements of the ACA qualification. Now, these are 450 days of practical work experience. So these are essentially, again, depending on what route you take, because if you are doing the level 4, it's not going to be 450 days, but is getting into work, doing a set amount of days at work. You then have an ethics and professional scepticism element, which is doing online webinars and taking part in kind of online courses with ethics, and you discuss this with a mentor or with kind of someone, your line manager, on your 6 monthly review, just to kind of explain situations where you may have had ethics kind of come into play in certain decisions, etc. You have a professional development, which is 7 key areas that we've identified that make you a well-rounded individual as a business professional. So something that once you're fully qualified, no matter what kind of direction you want to go in or focus on, like Paul did with tax, is that you are going to be kind of well equipped when going into that. And then you have the accountancy, finance and business modules, which is your exams. So 15 exams split into 3 levels: certificate level, advanced level and professional. Now, I've not gone into much detail about these elements whatsoever, and we come to the end of my part here. There's a caveat to that, and I know we're going into breakout rooms later on, so feel free to ask me any questions. But we do run other sessions away from this that are slightly longer and go into more in detail. So if you do wish to kind of join those sessions, I'm happy to kind of share a link later on where you can join in your own time, and we can go into a bit more detail about the exams and all the 4 elements, etc. But I think that is me to an end, so I will hand back and thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Harvey. I'm sure everyone who attended today found that really insightful. I certainly did, and I think it's good to know that there are different routes, but they're equally good. It's more about where you're getting to with it, right? So thank you very much, and I'm sure you'll get plenty of questions later on in the networking. Be joined shortly by Vicky, who's also working in the EIC team. And if you're sitting there thinking, okay, well, this sounds quite good, but who are you, and how do I apply? How do I go about it? That's what you're here to tell us, isn't it, Vicky?
Yep, exactly that. So hello everyone, my name is Vicky Verdi and I work alongside of Egil as a resource and advisor. So my remits will focus on our early in career opportunities for the London Tax Group and East Anglia, so I'm very biased to the roles that we have available. So over the next couple of minutes, I am going to share with you more about BDO's culture and also kind of some hints and tips when it comes to the application process. So first things first, I really want to highlight is that we're part of a $10.3 billion organisation with a year-on-year increase of 7.8%. So BDO's global network extends across 167 countries and territories, which you can kind of see highlighted in this dark grey colour on the map. Across all these countries, we have over 1,600 offices with over 91,000 staff being employed at our firm. So what does this mean for us all here in the UK today? So we're one of the UK's largest accountancy and business advisory firms. We provide essential financial services from audit to tax consultancy, risk management, corporate finance, and many more areas. So we want to help businesses up and down the country succeed. So our people play a vital role in powering the UK economy. Whilst we're a large organisation, employing around 6,000 people across 17 locations across the UK, our clients come in all shapes and sizes, from entrepreneurial scale-ups to multinational groups. So that means everyone here at BDO has varied and interesting work to do. So it means there's always a different challenge and something new to learn. We're also a people-powered business, so as you can see, 97% of our clients would recommend us. So here at BDO, we believe in sharing knowledge and ideas and overcoming obstacles together. So our 4 values act as the cultural glue of our firm. We're guided by them in everything we do. So by behaving in accordance with our values will help us to deliver across all elements of our strategic framework. They guide us in our day-to-day interactions, decision making with each other, our clients and society as a whole. So it's really important to know our 4 values, as you will always know exactly what we expect from you and what you can expect from us in return. I'll also just highlight when it does come to kind of, looking at applications and applying to BDO, we will be looking to see kind of how you can demonstrate our values. So it's really important to kind of refer to this, and this will help you later on in terms of your interview preparation at the assessment centre. And here at BDO, we have a number of employee networks which can provide support, helps educate our workforce to promote inclusivity and encourage people to be themselves. So we aim for our networks to be well-representative groups with access to strong and prominent role models. So we embrace individuality along with collaborative working. Collaboration is crucial between our networks. And also to highlight, it's a great way to learn more and kind of widening your knowledge. So you don't necessarily have to be Christian to be part of a Christian network. So we do have a number of people that follow the faith, but also people that might want to be allies or support and kind of network and understand a little bit more. So a great opportunity, to get to know different people and also kind of further your understanding of kind of the workforce and diversity that we have here. So here at BDO, we offer opportunities across these 4 streams of work, and all our client work sits within one of these streams. So firstly, as businesses grow, so do the challenges they face. So BDO's advisory services help our clients to meet these challenges at every stage of their life cycle. For example, key events might include acquiring a new business to fighting fraud. Our advisory teams help clients with innovative solutions to a wide range of financial and business challenges. Business services and outsourcing, so we like to call this BSO, is one of the fastest growing parts of our business. So BSO helps clients to be more efficient, flexible and forward thinking. Our teams here are essential to meeting our clients' evolving needs, as well as delivering long-term, sustainable value to businesses by providing solutions such as accountancy, payroll and compliance services. So they play a key role in helping our teams around the world collaborate. BSO helps international clients manage their accountancy needs by drawing on BDO's experts and investing in processes, systems, and people to to solve a huge range of challenges, giving clients to a far wide range of knowledge, technology, information, and resources than most in-house teams can offer. Audit and assurance. So this is the largest stream within BDO. Working in audit does mean much more than just analysing numbers. You get to know our clients and advise them on everything from financial performance and business systems to culture and risk. So we help them and their investors better understand their financial performance. Working in audit is an opportunity to build a strong technical foundation in accountancy and finance, whilst gaining vital business and commercial skills. And lastly, we have tax, so my favourite area because I do recruit for the roles in London. So within tax, we work with clients in a variety of sectors and locations to help them navigate a complicated and ever-changing tax landscape. So whatever the business's short-term goals are or long-term vision, there will usually be a number of tax-related issues they will need to overcome. So our job is to help our clients get to where they want to be by the most effective route. To do this, we offer many different tax services, including advice on employment taxation, international tax, or transactional support for deals such as mergers and acquisitions. And there's much, much more. So we have such a diverse offering within tax, meaning that there is room for many types of experts to expand in our team. So what does this mean here in terms of opportunities that are available for you this evening? So we have two routes in terms of our trainee programs. If you decide perhaps maybe apprenticeship is not the route for you, and you can always come and join us once you have graduated and completed your degree. Ultimately, regardless of what route you take, you will all end up at the same point of becoming a fully qualified and expert kind of within the remit that you've applied to. Also to highlight, if you were to apply to our apprenticeship programs, our minimum requirements would be a 9 to 4 in maths and English at GCSE or equivalent. And also to highlight as well, we do look for 3 A-levels or equivalent. So BTECs can be acceptable as long as they're kind of at a similar level to the A-level equivalent. So here we just ask for the grades A star to C, and we don't necessarily specify what subjects you must come from. So don't think just because you haven't studied maths or accountancy or business that you wouldn't qualify for BDO. As long as you meet those grade criteria, you are more than welcome to make an application to us. As well as that, we have recently opened applications for our Explore BDO programme. So those looking to understand more about BDO will have the opportunity to take part in our virtual Insight Week, which will run from the beginning of August. This is aimed at year 11 to 12 students who do meet our social mobility criteria, because we want to open the accessibility for students to learn more about the world of accountancy and career opportunities. So what we have as part of our Explore BDO programme is that after taking part, students will get the opportunity to be fast-tracked to an assessment centre. Also on here, I do have kind of the entry routes that are available for university students that are studying for their undergraduate. So again, if you did decide on that university pathway, we do have kind of a number of different roles available when you come to be in your first year and second year. So as you've heard this evening, there are a number of different routes in terms of an apprenticeship. So, hopefully you've heard a lot more about how this combines work experience and the achievement of a professional qualification, as well as developing the skills and behaviours required to be a competent accountant or tax professional. So here at BDO, once you've completed the apprenticeship, you'll actually receive 2 qualifications, the professional qualification as well as the apprenticeship itself. So to gain the apprenticeship qualification, you will be required to complete 20% of your learning through work time, which is fine as you'll be doing this without necessarily putting in the extra time. So this learning can include attending a tuition, so both in college or online, internal training that might be available to you at BDO, as well as shadowing and mentoring other colleagues, amongst other activities. So most of our apprenticeship programs will be at a level 7, as Harvey discussed, which is an equivalent to a master's level. However, we also do offer kind of the AAT qualification as a level 4 apprenticeship, which is equivalent to the first year of university. So the idea is that we'll give you that foundation, and then once that's happened, then it will be going up to the level 7 qualification. Our main tuition providers for our apprenticeships are BPP and Kaplan. So some of you may have come across that kind of when researching your opportunities. Both are trusted tuition providers, and we have worked with them for a number of years. So we've worked very closely with them to ensure that there is a robust training program available to all our apprentices. So I'm conscious I've spoken a lot about kind of who we are, the opportunities that we have available, and what this means for you if you were to come and join as an apprentice. So what I'm going to focus on now is kind of my top hints and tips when it comes to our application process. So we're interested in individuals, so people who can bring their own unique personality and outlook to work. So your qualifications and work experience are only part of the story. So throughout the entire recruitment process, we want to find out about what you care about and what you enjoy doing. So this paints a bigger picture of you and your suitability to join us. So what we look for. So we're looking at your core competencies, technical competencies, values, and attitudes. So in essence, what you do and how you do it. So we know that certain attributes and behaviours are critical to success at BDO. So during the recruitment process, we will be assessing you against kind of these 6 criteria. A lot more information can be found on our website, where you will actually be able to understand kind of how you can demonstrate this. And what I'd encourage you to do is maybe think about, are these characteristics that really bring out the best of you, and kind of how have you been able to demonstrate that through kind of your experience to date. So our application process is a fairly short process. So the first stage will be completing an online application form. So here we'll just be asking you a few more questions around your entry requirements. So, kind of asking you about your GCSEs, A-levels and equivalent. And also we'll be asking you to upload a CV. So make sure you've got that ready to hand. Once completing that, you'll then be invited to our online testing and video interviews. This is what we call Hypo-I. Don't panic. My next slide will talk to you a little bit more about kind of how best to prepare for that. And if successful, once completing the online test and video interview, you'll then be invited to one of our virtual assessment centres. So this will be a great opportunity for you to meet with the business area that you've applied to. Once attending an assessment centre, we would then look to get back to you kind of within 48 hours to let you know if you've been successful or not. So online tests, so as I've mentioned, there'll be 2 criteria to this. So there'll be an online test, which will be looking at your applied verbal and numerical intellect. And then there'll also be a video interview that takes part. So don't panic. It's really, really important that you give yourself the best chance to succeed. So what I'd probably say is just treat it like you've already got the job. The tests are designed to kind of make it an immersive experience. So hopefully once you complete it, you're kind of like, yes, this is definitely the place I want to work. Or you might complete it and decide, oh, I'm not too sure. So what we're trying to do is just give you as much information up front to kind of give you a bit of a flavour with what life will be like as a trainee. So to kind of giving yourself the best chance to succeed, what I'd encourage you all to do is just make sure you sit in a quiet room where you won't be disturbed. Have everything you might need. So I always encourage candidates to have a pen, paper, a calculator just by hand so you can make some notes. It just helps you work out, or you might be someone that just needs to write down the keywords to kind of help you remain focused. There's a number of practice tests that will be available that you can take beforehand. I really strongly encourage you to do the practice test just so you can get used to the formatting, understand what's being asked, and you get a little bit more familiar with kind of how that will come across before doing the real deal. Also, another thing that I would add is that if you do have any questions and it's not necessarily being clarified with the information you got, please, please, please contact us. We're not mind readers, so unfortunately we can't understand anything that you might preempt. But if there's something you're unsure about, then just feel free to kind of email us and we'll be more than happy to kind of advise you further. Don't necessarily attempt the test if you're not sure. Again, just make sure you get in contact with us. When it comes to the video interview, dress as you would for a normal interview. Believe in yourself, so keep those notes as far away as possible so you're not tempted to read them when answering. And just to flag as well, our video interview will be timed, so you will have kind of 2 minutes to respond to the questions. So do just keep an eye on the time. I appreciate video interviews are very, very odd, but in this day and age, we've all got access to a mobile phone or at least a laptop. So what I'd encourage you to do just to help build your confidence is maybe just get your camera out, record yourself answering an interview question. So one of them could be, why do you want to come and work for BDO? Why have you applied for the program that you had? and maybe just kind of assess kind of how you're coming across in that scenario. So then when you're doing the real thing, it's not the first time you've done it, so you've had a bit more of a practice, and you can see kind of how you're coming across in that instance. And then once the video interview's been completed in the online test, if successful, you'll then be invited to one of our virtual assessment centres. So this will kind of take place at 9 AM, and we'd look to be wrapped up at around 2:30. I always say to candidates, we like what we see, and this is kind of the final moment to kind of really showcase why BDO would be suitable for you. So just treat it like you've got the job and it's just a typical day in the life. So what we'll kick off with is some welcome and introductions, so you can get to know the other candidates and get a bit more of an understanding of kind of what to expect from the day. We will then go on to the group exercise. So here we're looking at teamwork and collaboration. We're not looking at you all competing with each other. So you will be set a brief. So what we want to understand is, how do you all come together to discuss that brief? And also there will be a time frame allocated, so making sure you work kind of within the time frame that has been set. And then for the rest of the day, there'll be different exercises. So an interview, so this will be one-on-one with an assessor. Here we'll be looking to understand a little bit more about your motivations, as well as asking questions around your competency and strengths. So it's really important that you provide specific examples and evidence of when you've kind of been able to showcase that. You'll have a written exercise. So the written exercise, we're looking at, your attention to detail. So making sure that your spelling and grammar is correct, but also looking at kind of how you convey a complex message in that instance. And then finally, there'll be a presentation. So again, this will be one-on-one with an assessor. And here we'll be looking for you to demonstrate a SWOT analysis. So SWOT standing for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So this will be an opportunity for you to showcase your commercial awareness and maybe thinking about kind of how BDO service lines might be able to support with that SWOT analysis. And as well as that, you will also get a chance to meet with the business area. So at the end of your assessment centre, you will not you will get a chance to kind of meet with the business area that you've applied to. So your chance to really assess them and ask them loads of questions that you may have around the team, the culture, kind of how the development and stuff like that looks. So just some hints and tips on the virtual assessment centre is making sure you do your research on the role as well as BDO. So why do you want to come and do this role? Why do you want to come and do it here at BDO? Making sure you work together as a group. We're not trying to catch you out. We just want to look at teamwork and collaboration. As you can see in our values, that plays a huge part in making us successful. Dress as you would for a face-to-face interview. Ensure the presentation covers all the objectives. I appreciate there is a very tight time frame, but just making sure you understand everything the brief is asking, and maybe just provide a little bit of structure of kind of how you'll be devising your time over that part. Making sure your spelling and grammar is correct. So particularly important when it comes to the written exercise, but also just taking that into consideration when you're working on your presentation. And most importantly, be yourself. So try not to let the nerves get you, and just make sure you treat it like a real day. So, the idea is the interview is a perfect chance to network with someone from the organisation. The presentation could be a task that we get you to work on. Written exercise, you'll be communicating a lot to people in a written form, and the group exercise, treat it like it's a team meeting. So I will pass back to Egil.
Thank you very much, Vicky. And I hope you all found that really insightful. If you do have any other questions about the recruitment process, we can we'll talk about that in the networking afterwards as well. I'll now be joined back on the virtual stage by Paul, Theo, and Jemma, who's here to answer some of the questions you asked in the comment section and to have a bit of a discussion around sort of their careers with BDO as well and their choice to do an apprenticeship with us. There we go. Hi all. I'll first I'll get you to introduce yourself. So, Jemma, do you mind just telling us when you joined, what you do, and where you're based?
Yeah, of course. So I am an audit trainee based in the Birmingham office. I specialise with not-for-profit clients. So that's anything from universities, charities, different housing associations and the like. I've been at BDO now for 2.5 years, starting on the school leaver apprenticeship programme. And I actually went to university for a year before I started at BDO, and just decided that I didn't really enjoy it, and that I was probably better suited going straight into a job.
Fair
I'll
enough.
keep it brief so we can answer lots of questions.
Brilliant, thank you, Jemma. Theo?
Hi everyone, I'm Theo. I joined BDO back in 2014 on the school leaver program as well. So I've been with BDO for 7 years, or just over 7 years now. So I joined within the audit stream, and back then the apprenticeship program was 5 years. So I qualified back in December 2019, and I was lucky enough then after that to stay with BDO, and I was promoted to manager in May of 2021. I just recently moved from audit to corporate finance, so working within the transaction services team here at BDO.
Brilliant, thank you very much. We've had some really good questions coming in, and I think some of them will lead to a bit of an interesting discussion as well. But Theo, I'll come to you first. There is a question in here that I think quite a lot of people do ask themselves.
Yep.
Do you regret not going to university?
I think that's a very interesting question. I think for me personally, I was at a stage in my career or school life, college life, where I applied for university and I literally wrote down the pros and cons of going. And for me, it was best to join a professional services firm at that stage. University meant I had to move away from my friends and family, and also meant that I'd be doing a 3-year course at university, then having to come out and do another 3 years towards my ACA. So the apprenticeship program really did shortcut that for me. So you're learning from day one in the professional services firm. So no, I don't think I regretted going into university, and I think I'm in a better position now for joining the school leaver program when I did.
And it sounds like it was a bit of a shortcut in a way.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Because you've made you're managing now. You've
Yes.
worked in one team. You're in another, and you're how old now?
So I've just turned 26 actually last week.
There you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is impressive. And
Thank you very
there's a follow-up question on that. I think from Imi that just came in, Jemma. What made you choose the apprenticeship route?
Yeah, similar to Theo, I kind of did pros and cons of both opportunities. I'd done the summer school program when I was in year 11 or year 12. Absolutely loved the experience at BDO. I actually did it based in the London office. But following on from that, I kind of felt the pressure of school, of family, of friends to go to university. It was very much, if you're going to get good grades, you go to university. That's just what's done. And I think I kind of fell into that trap and just went for university, even though I knew it probably wasn't right for me. And during my first year at university, it was just very theory based, and that's just not me. I just love meeting people. I love going out. The idea of meeting up with clients just really excited me. So knowing that I've done the summer school program and really enjoyed that, that's kind of what made me go back and revisit my options and return to BDO. I think it's such a great opportunity to be able to earn while you learn. And at the end of the day, you get the same qualification as a graduate. So it's not like you're behind them in any sense. You know, we've got Paul here who's testament to that. It really doesn't hold you back in your career.
No, absolutely. And building on that, sort of taking a step back a little bit, Paul, there's a question around the apprenticeships. And obviously we value it and we see it as a very important part of our recruitment. Do you think that's true across the finance sector?
Yeah, that again, it's a great question, isn't it? Which is, I think that was from Shantasia, wasn't it? Do people look down on it? Well, for me, the really important thing for anybody that's either thinking about coming direct into the workforce or going to university, if they come into accountancy, is really Harvey's session, which is you all end up with the chartered accountancy qualification, and that completely out trumps, in my experience, in the world of business, your university background, your schooling background, your grades, etc., etc. And therefore, ultimately, that qualification is the evidence that you are a very marketable and a very valuable individual. So that's the first thing I would say. And kind of almost linking that question from Shantasia to the one from Imi around regretting not going to university. I'm kind of philosophical about questions like this, which is, in my experience, humans, we are almost desperate to know what we should do in life. And the challenge is you can't run a parallel life. You can't have two lives and try to identify which of them you now want to go back and have as your actual life. And then secondly, I find that humans, we constantly fish, don't we? We try and fish for confirmation that if I've gone to university, when I'm meeting my friends who have gone straight into work, I'm probably going to major on, I'm having a brilliant time and I've really made the right choice. And equally, there'll be a temptation for people to go into the workforce that say, but I'm having a brilliant time, da, da, da. And then once they get, if they really know one another, they will share their experiences. So I think whichever route you take, you're always alert to the fact that you had an alternative option, which it just makes sense, doesn't it? But then whatever you do, if you commit to that, you will maximize your chances of success. So I know I'm over answered your question, but I think I'm answering a few questions at the same time, which is really back yourself, be yourself, and then be aware and alert as to you could have had choices in life. But I don't think I'd ever use the word regrets. I've had a fantastic career, and I'm alert to the fact that there was an alternative. But so what?
Exactly. You've not exactly done badly with with your choices, have you? Sort of building on that, and sort of talking about, you've chosen the apprenticeship, you've decided to apply for an apprenticeship, and Matthew's asked a really good question here, which is something we can talk about the recruitment side of that later. But Jemma, what is it you think? What is it you did to prepare for the recruitment process that you think helped you be successful and get to where you are now?
Yeah, I think a massive thing that helped me stand out was the fact I'd done the summer school program. So everyone on this call has this flagship event that they've been part of, and being able to go into the interview and say, I attended this event, I was really interested in BDO, and this is what I've done about it. Whether it's that you then go on to look at the summer school programs, whether it's just that you look more at the BDO website, you find out more about the ACA qualification, I think that makes you stand out so much. I think we've said it over and over, but it really is true, just to be yourself. You can go in an interview and you can be really rehearsed and know the answers you think that they're looking for, but they're really just looking that you're confident, that you're willing to have a chat with them. At the end of the day, you're the person that they're going to be putting in front of a client. So as long as you're professional, you're good fun, you have a nice laugh with whoever's interviewing you, they're looking for real people, they're not looking for robots.
I think you're right. That authenticity is really important at work, and therefore also in the recruitment process.
And Egil, do you mind if I just butt in? One of the wonderful things I'd also share with everyone on the call is sometimes we use this word they. They are looking for this, and it's as if the Wizard of Oz is sitting at the center of these great organizations, making these perfect decisions about the type of people we recruit. There is no Wizard of Oz. He or she does not exist. It is simply people like us who are just dead normal, and we almost look for normalness in people.
It's very true. It's very true. So we talked about the process and as you get there, and the fact that we do work with normal people and we are looking for that authenticity, but you are studying and working at the same time, which can be hard. There's we can't say it's not. Theo, you've obviously made it through. How was it balancing sort of work and study?
Like you touched on, it is tough getting the balance between work, study, and also having a social life, which is really important as well, having that time off. But the structure at BDO, when I was going through my training contract, was that when you were off studying, that's all you were doing, and people want you to succeed. So you're focusing on study for, say, 3 or 4 weeks, and you hand over the jobs that you're working on before that, and everyone leaves you alone. So you are able just to focus on studying and getting through your exams. And then when you come back to work, there may be some evenings or weekends that you have to give up to meet your qualification or work towards your exams. But I'd always say to people, think about what's at the end of it. Once you've got this qualification, there's so many doors that open for you. So it is tough in that 3 or 4 year period, but look at the people on this call. It's testament to people who actually get through it. So it's not, you're not alone in that sense, definitely.
That's very true. And I guess all your managers would have gone through it before
Correct,
you.
yeah.
As well.
Yeah, that's it.
And it's also touching upon a question here from Taryn around work-life balance, Paul, and it's something it's really in the news at the moment as well. What does work-life balance look like at BDO?
Yeah, look, it's another great question and a really challenging thing, I think, for society more generally. There's some fantastic studies that if you go back to the 1950s, believe it or not, that you can see a grid and a graph. One line shows average number of hours sleep each individual was taking per evening, and the other line shows the average number of hours worked. And if you go back in the 1950s, it was something like 8 hours sleep and 7 hours work. And now you can see the average charts where it's inverted, and people are now sort of sleeping 6 to 7 hours average, and they're working 7 to 8 or 9 hours. So it's a societal challenge. And I'm a massive fan of trying to get work-life balance, and I do that myself. I don't work all the time. I definitely carve out 6 weeks holiday a year for myself. I definitely do exercise. I keep alert, etc., etc. But it is hard, and people have to really be quite disciplined themselves. Sometimes you can blame the environment. You say, oh, the firm wants me to work hard. And I can sit in front of people and I say, I don't want you to do that number of hours. And people still find themselves and some people actually want to do those hours at particular points in time because they're on a project and they're really, really, really passionate about that project. But we all have to help one another to kind of temper our behavior to make sure we don't get into habits of actually just keep on working too hard. So I don't know if that answers the question. I could give you some stats and all the rest of it, but I tell you, it's down to individuals. I'd be interested to see if Jemma and Theo back me up on this, but yeah, sometimes the team need you to help out, and that is really rewarding. But if someone's telling you, I want you to work weekends, every single week, then something is wrong.
No, definitely.
Jemma, Theo, help me out here.
Yeah, no, I would. I'd echo that. So I've been through numerous busy seasons, we call it in audit, and times where you have to meet a reporting deadline and you are working additional hours in the week, but the team is working. You're working as a team. You're working together, and it's all about making sure during those busy periods you have the right support. So right from the partner on the job down to the most junior member of the team, everyone's sharing the workload. And definitely when you do get the opportunity to take time off, make sure you do take time off and recharge those batteries. And the Christmas period is always the best time to recharge those batteries for me personally anyway, and in the summer as well. So yeah, there is opportunities to do that, definitely.
Absolutely. Jemma, what does work-life balance look like in a not-for-profit team in Birmingham?
Yeah, if I'm being completely honest, coming straight from school, I don't think I understood that balance. I don't think I knew what that looked like coming into BDO. So I've definitely, in the 2.5 years I've been here, swung both ways, where I've done more life than work and more work than life. I think it's kind of a process. You have to learn what that looks like. So my counselling manager, he started as a school leaver. He's gone through the same qualifications. So he was a great person to talk to and say, how do I actually get this balance? When should I be studying, living life and working? You also get a buddy. So I've got someone in the year above me, and they were a great source. They were a graduate, but obviously have very similar challenges doing the same exams. So I think that's definitely really helped. And I've kind of been a bit stubborn. I love to play hockey. So my Wednesday evenings, I'm playing hockey. It doesn't matter if I've got work to do. The work can be done on the Monday, Tuesday, Thursday and Friday. So I think kind of setting your priorities, communicating it to the people you work with and say, this is what I enjoy and this is what I'm going to be doing. Because everyone around you's got the same. They've got other hobbies that they enjoy doing. So it's definitely respected.
So you can carve out the time that you want.
Yeah,
that.
definitely.
No, that's really good.
Egil, what's work-life balance for you?
In recruitment, I think it's fairly similar. We all have busy periods and have slightly less busy periods. For me, this is the first place that I've worked where I get told off by my managers if I don't log off in time, which is quite nice. So I think especially working from home, and we do that. I mean, Jemma's in the office now, but I'm working from home, 3 or 4 days a week at least. And it's quite easy just to check that last email or keep your phone around. And it's definitely a personal, individual process and a choice you have to go through. And knowing that, I enjoy my work, and that's probably why I'm working the hours I do, but I don't have to, and it's my choice to do that.
I think that's there's a big difference between discretionary effort and almost demanded effort. Yeah, and we definitely try to avoid the second one. But we're not perfect. Okay, we're not perfect.
No, we try. Vicky touched upon the skills and the competencies we look for in the recruitment process. We've talked about that a little bit, but there was a really interesting question coming in from James around the skill set of the personal traits that maybe set some people apart. And I'm sure we have people on this call who would who'd love to know how to get to that managing partner role, Paul. What do you feel is a personal trait that's helped you to be successful and to get to where you are?
Yes, again, God, these questions are really, really difficult, aren't they? I'll probably over answer it to try and volunteer as much of my own personal experience. So the first thing I would say, which comes back to being yourself, is enjoy what you do. And I don't mean that in a kind of patsy way, which is everything's candy floss and cupcakes. I mean, if you're enjoying things, I'm convinced that your brain is then taking in more oxygen and you think clearly, you participate. And I think, was it Jemma that just mentioned, you then start giving the answers that you believe in as opposed to the ones that people want to hear, whether that's internally or clients. So, we haven't really spoken much about clients, but I tell you, you do find it difficult when you're training, when a client is almost telling you what they want the answer to be, and you have to find the words, the courage and the energy to say, well, it doesn't quite work like that. And it's almost, but that is part of our learning process. So I think if you enjoy it, you will be more effective. People will actually listen to you more, and even the most demanding clients can't quite out trump natural human behavior of being really honest. So that is the ultimate. However you could bottle that's a trait. I don't even know what you describe it as. The other obvious traits are, and I think Vicky touched on these, would be around attitude. There's a huge difference between any of us not understanding something, but then having the right attitude to go and ask for guidance and support, or if we get something wrong. Everybody makes mistakes. I've made loads of mistakes, but then there's the attitude around, do you know what, I've made a mistake, I need some help. And then the final one is influence, which is going back to my Wizard of Oz analogy, that you can join a large organization and you can get kind of fooled into believing that the organization, just because an email comes in from someone, that someone's done some perfect thinking, and therefore your duty is to just respond to that email. But if you know it's a stupid request, without being rude, you can influence the entire firm by saying, look, I came across this the other day. I'm not sure that is that sensible. It's just not that efficient. And if you, again, you can find the right language and speak to people that you know and that they know you're reacting and influencing in a constructive way, it is so powerful. And that build up of that over the years has probably been my most valuable asset. And there's a big difference between screaming and shouting at people versus influencing. I guarantee screaming and shouting I've never seen it get anybody anywhere, by the way. So that's my answer to that one.
Well, thank you very much, Paul. I think, as you said, it's thorough, and I hope that answers those questions as well. We've got other questions in here about sort of, will I be kept on after I do the apprenticeship? Absolutely. We are training you because we want you to stay. It's up to you whether your career ambition is to become managing partner in the future, or whether you'd like to go a different route. But we want you to stay after qualifying, and that's why we do this. We want people to succeed, and we are here to help you do that. The other question that came in, I'm going to come to you on that, Theo. If I was applying for an apprenticeship right now, say in audit, and I wasn't sure whether I wanted to spend the rest of my BDO career within audit, is it easy to sort of change teams and streams?
It is relatively easy, to be honest. I think I'm testament to that. So during my training contract, I did a short-term secondment in transaction services back in, when was it? The back end of 2019, I think, when I just qualified or coming up to qualification. And there's a internal process where you can go on secondment in different streams. So there's jobs that are advertised on Workday that offer this. And also just speaking to your people manager or people partner, they can then speak to other people in different streams to say, look, this individual has worked for X number of years in audit. They want to try something new, or they want to experience something different. Can you give that opportunity? And yeah, definitely, if there's the capacity there, then there's then just a administration process for you to move over, really. And I remember Paul saying in one of his talks around, there was a book about, I think it was Tiger Woods versus Roger Federer, and that analogy around, you can be in audit. I know loads of people that have been in audit for their whole career and been very, very successful and got to partner or equity partner. But there's also other people that try something and then move to different streams and still are equally successful. So there's no one route that you take effectively. It's what's personal to you and what works best for you, definitely.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Theo. Conscious we're running out of time. So yeah, thank you very much for taking the time. All three of you. I know, Theo, you're staying on for the networking later on. And we've got 3 sort of virtual rooms for that. So live as a trainee, where we've got 3 of our trainees and Vicky joining. The application process, where I'll talk you through, and then the life after the trainee program as well, where I'm sure Theo can talk to you a little bit more about how it is sort of on the other side of it all. But yeah, thank you very much. I'm not sure, Paul, do you have any sort of last words to leave us with?
No, I'm just seeing, I'm just scanning the questions. There's, oh, we could keep on going, couldn't we? But look, thank you. And you've got the message, haven't you? Which is, you've got choice. Think about it. Inform yourself. Do speak to everyone and anyone you know about the pros and cons. But just remember, as humans, we're all biased. So ultimately, you've then got to be really true to yourself. And I think the more informed you are, the better decision you will make. And the very, very best of luck. And the fact that you've taken time out to attend this, I guarantee, as Jemma says, is a fantastic sign, whatever you choose to do, because you're putting energy and effort into what is a critical decision for you. So keep well, good luck, and hope to bump into a number of you here at BDO.
Thank you very much, Paul. Hope to see you all in the virtual rooms in just a couple of minutes.